All right, we're going to get started. Have some people still signing on, but we'll jump in because we have a lot to cover today. Good morning. I am Kara Stoller, the CEO of the Steamboat Springs Chamber, and I'm excited that you guys are here joining us today. Steamboat Ready was created in response to a lot of questions and concerns that continue to arise from business owners through our industry work group meetings. This year has certainly been filled with a lot of unknown, and the continued unknown that's been looming over the winter season has rightfully caused some concern. So the chamber team, the county, the city, and Ski Corps, along with additional business owners, came together to create Steamboat Ready, which is a communication effort that will shed light on winter plans, forecasts, challenges, and will be a place for collaborative dialogue. And by no means do any of us have a crystal ball, certainly wish that we did, but by sharing information that we have, hopefully that will set us all up as best as possible for this winter. So today is the first monthly webinar. We will continue these each month, and we'll have a different primary presentation. However, at each webinar, we will have general updates from the group that you'll hear from today. And then we'll also have a regular cadence of emails and social media posts, again, trying to keep everybody in the community as up to speed as possible. Before we start, a few housekeeping items. Just we have a lot of attendees, which is fantastic. If you guys can put your questions in the chat function, that would be great, and we will get to them at the end of the session today, but feel free to ask questions of any of those who are presenting. And other than that, I think we'll just jump in here. We were going to start off with reps from the county, both Roberta Smith, the Public Health Director, and Beth Melton, County Commissioner. However, they had to step away. Just a few updates that I can share on their behalf. They continue to work on next phases, looking at both Safer at Home Level 1 as well as Protect Our Neighbor. And they do want to remind business owners that if possible, if your team can work from home, that is still advisable. So keep that in mind. And then also a flu shot reminder. Make sure everybody gets out there and gets their flu shots. And we'll talk about it. We can talk about it now. There's also part of Steamboat Ready, a pledge. So really just trying to reiterate, I know it's been a long month, 6 months of doing everything and anything that we can to keep both ourselves and our neighbors and friends and guests as healthy as possible, and it's time to reinforce those. So really encourage you to visit the Steamboat Ready webpage on our site, which will link you to that business pledge. So with that, I'm going to jump over to our second agenda item, which is an update from Steamboat Springs City Council President Jason Lacey and the Steamboat Springs City Manager Gary Suter.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm having trouble turning on my video. I'm not sure who the host is. There we go. All right, thanks very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to all the other groups that are joining us here today. Thank you to the Chamber and to the ski resort and the county for helping facilitate this dialogue. I think it's really important. I just want to start off by really thanking the community. This has been obviously a long 6 or so months, which seems in some ways like it's been more like 6 years, but ever since the pandemic started, and just want to really thank everyone for their efforts during this time. It's just want to also encourage everyone to stay vigilant. I know it's been hard to deal with a lot of the changes to our everyday lives, and just really appreciate everything you've done to help us maintain the safe and healthy community that we have. And I'd also be remiss if I didn't also thank our city staff, because they've done a great job through this time, through a lot of uncertainty, and they've kept doing their jobs with real class and integrity, and really appreciate that. For our city updates, I wanted to kind of start with our biggest challenge and then kind of transition to some of the more positive things going on. So to start, I wanted to discuss transit. And obviously transit is a huge factor that goes into our everyday lives for our locals, but it's also an important piece of the winter season whenever we have a lot more visitors in town as well. So transit this year is presented with what I would call a two-pronged challenge. The first piece of the puzzle on trying to solve the transit puzzle is the capacity limits that we are subject to based on the state public health orders. So as everyone is probably very well aware, we have state orders, state public health orders from the governor's office and CDPHE with their guidelines. And on transit buses right now, we are limited to 25% maximum capacity. Right now, in more of an off season, that maybe doesn't present as many challenges, but obviously if we see visitation get anywhere near normal levels this winter, or even somewhat less than that, it's going to present a serious challenge for people being able to utilize the buses unless those capacity limits change. So we are working with the county. Obviously, we can move through different levels of the Safer at Home order. Right now, we're in kind of the phase 2 medium phase, but as we move to phase 1, or possibly move to the what's called the Protect Our Neighbor phase, we are hoping that we can provide some increased capacity on the buses so that the transit situation won't be so difficult for the community. But I do think it's important for people to recognize that the capacity limits are somewhat beyond our control, and you should expect to see some kind of limitations that are maybe not what you've been used to seeing in the past. The other constraint that we have on transit this year is our budgetary concerns. So obviously the city has had an impact on sales tax collections. So there is a chance that, among all the departments, transit could also see some cuts. City Council has not had the opportunity to review our entire budget at this time. So it's important for everyone to know that these discussions are very preliminary and no final decisions have been made. But with the budgetary forecast that staff is going to be presenting to us, it's likely that we would see some cuts across different departments. And right now, the preliminary indication from staff is that they would be proposing to cut the blue line, which is a very important line, and it costs about $500,000 per year for the city to operate. Again, this is all very preliminary. The city has not had a chance, the council has not had a chance to review the budget in full. Transit is obviously a primary department. It's a very key core service that we are all very anxious to fund. Council is going to take a very hard look at all the proposed budget scenarios from staff to see if we can obviously fund transit as much as possible to make transit be a key part of helping serve the locals and the visitors during the winter season. Transitioning to some more positive things, we are looking forward to opening Howells Hill again for another season, the longest operating ski area in North America. We hope to have an opening at some point in December, all weather dependent. And obviously we'll have our Nordic and Alpine trails over there. We've had great success with the ski-free Sundays in the past, and we hope to continue those this year as well. So we're really looking forward to that. I know the staff over there is really excited to get the season open again. And on more positive news, we also have had some very generous donors and community members step up to provide some donations to help transition our Howells Hill tennis courts to a couple of outdoor ice rinks this winter, which will be free of charge and which will be available for the public to use, and everything from free skate, figure skating, hockey, just really a great thing that I know we see in a lot of other communities where they have outdoor ice. So I'm really excited for that and really appreciate those generous donors for stepping up. So Gary, did I miss anything? Happy to turn it over to you to give a few more comments as well.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, and I'll try and make this quick, Kara, because I know you want to keep things rolling here. Yeah, our city planning department has been working with the businesses as we did this summer and City Council passed an emergency ordinance to allow outdoor seating. The challenge this winter is going to be heating, so I'm calling it seating with heating. And we're continuing to work with the businesses to enable our guests and locals to be able to dine in comfort with all the great restaurants that we have here. We are working with the federal CARES funding to put together a purchase of protective personal equipment, PPE, which 6 months ago nobody knew what that was, but now we all know, for the benefit of the businesses. And we're also coordinating with Lisa Popovich with Main Street to provide her some matching funds for a grant that benefits businesses as well. I do want to say that I'm optimistic about the budget. There are going to be budget cuts across the board, as you said, Jason, but I remain optimistic. I know we have to plan for whatever the winter whatever hand of cards that it deals to us, but I'm staying optimistic. With the boom in outdoor recreation, I'm expecting and hoping that that will continue, and looking to have a bang-up winter with everybody's cooperation. I can tell you, anybody that's come to visit this summer is very impressed with our community collaboration, what we've done here in Steamboat Springs, and they say it's way better than what they've done back home, wherever they come from. So I'm really proud of the community for stepping up. And my last message is, those that look ahead and adapt are the ones that are succeeding. So I got that advice from a business consultant 6 months ago, and he said the ones that are just complaining and kind of holding back to see what happens are the ones that are usually losing out. So looking ahead, trying to anticipate and adapt and plan ahead, those are the ones that are making hay out of this bad situation. So squeeze those lemons, add some sugar, and let's make some lemonade. That's what I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you, both Jason and Gary. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Right on time. So thank you for that too. I will share a brief chamber update. As I mentioned in the intro, we set up 14 industry work groups in May. And those, some of those examples are restaurants, lodging, events and festivals, banking, retail, and certainly others. So we've been working really to try to target our efforts and support to businesses on that industry level over the last several months. We recently closed out our second economic impact survey, and now we have our membership survey that's out and live. We will base our actions for the remainder of this year as well as 2021 on the responses to both of those surveys. So please complete the membership survey as soon as possible if you haven't already. The Chamber, specifically our Economic Development Director, John Bristol, is leading the creation of a long-term economic recovery recommendation pack that we will share with our elected officials and partners. And we are sourcing input for this from industry work groups, our Economic Development Council, the Chamber Board, and welcome any additional input. So please reach out to myself or John Bristol if you would like to discuss any additions to that plan. We're also advocating for additional federal stimulus packages to support small businesses, and we are doing that in partnership with more than 100 chambers across the country, and trying to hold on to hope that we'll see something there. On a local level, as I mentioned, some of the things that the county is working on, we are working with the county team to continue to move into phases that fit our stats. So right now, focus is on Safer at Home Level 1, while also working on Protect Our Neighbor, which is a bit more involved of a process to move into that phase. But we're doing everything we can to help the county get everything, information that they need to apply for both of those, or to be approved for Safer at Home and then apply for Protect Our Neighbor. As I mentioned, the pledge, that is getting businesses to recommit to our mitigation efforts will help in our Protect Our Neighbor application. And of course, will help keep everyone as safe and healthy as possible. So please visit that webpage and sign your business on. I know all of you are doing a tremendous job already. So thank you for that and for your continued efforts on that front. Next up, we have Mark Walker, President of Resort Group, who will give an update on behalf of the lodging industry.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to give a little update on lodging, not just from our company with Resort Group, but from some of the other folks I've talked to in lodging around town. So I'm going to back up before I get into winter and just kind of recap a little bit on summer. And I'll start with, we were very concerned in June when we opened up. And over time, June and July started to grow a little bit better. And frankly, August and September are beating our budgets that we established back last fall. And that was before we ever heard of this thing called COVID. Now, our August and September aren't big sales months, but it is good news to see that we're exceeding our budget. So that's important. Additional things that I've seen on our end that is different under COVID is we and many of the people in lodging have seen more last second, same day arrivals than I can ever recall being in this business. Additionally, we've seen an enormous amount of owner stays this summer. We've seen a lot of owners come up for a month, 2 or 3 months, even early on in June. And it makes sense. They wanted to get out of their metropolitan areas where they live and come up here and spend time in their home or condo that they have here. And so that's been a new trend that's new to me. I haven't seen that to this degree. And additionally, an enormous amount of monthly stays. So a lot of people coming up and booking for a month, 2 or 3 months. And that trend is continuing for the winter. So the big question that everybody asks is, what is winter going to look like from a lodging perspective? And I don't know. I'll give you some highlights, but I just am not sure. And I get the question everywhere I go. But right now our call volume is up. It's strong. But many of us obviously are still down for this winter when you compare it to last winter. But there's a couple things that are different this year. In the past, we've had these deadlines in place that help incentivize guests to book and pay in full. Well, those deadlines have all got pushed back. So when I look at our historicals, I don't see those upticks in reservations like I would historically. So our next big deadline actually takes place the day before the election, which is on November 2nd. So us in lodging will probably have a lot better pulse on how things are shaken out after November 2nd. So maybe our next go around on these Steamboat Ready meetings. So our group business, unfortunately, is down. Some of us, a lot of us have group business. I'll just give you one example. Music Fest, as a result of COVID. They've been coming here for 30 some years, and that's in early January. We really see a dip. That time frame is important for us, and they're not coming this winter. So many other groups like that are going to create us to have less revenue, and we're going to have to claw our way out of that through all different channels. On the positive note, I believe that mountain destinations in general have a lot going on for them versus other vacation areas. The fresh air, the mountain, the social distancing of a ski vacation, and pent-up demand, I think puts us in a great spot for this winter. Additionally, I think the airline and the Hayden Airport is a huge deal with our revenue guarantees that we've got most airlines flying in here. And then you add in Southwest Airlines coming in with the low fares and all the destinations that they come from, I think sets us up to be as best as we can under this circumstance. It just really comes down to me is people's appetite to. I believe that I've learned, I think it's 70 to 75% of people that come to ski and steamboat historically fly. So that's really, really important. Now, obviously our drive market will grow more this year for sure. But if we get an outbreak or an uptick this fall or this winter, I just don't know what people's appetite to get on that airplane will be. And that will make some adjustments or changes. I just don't know. On a positive note, I want to say that Mr. Perlman's letter from the ski area out to the steamboat community for us was absolutely huge. We were getting so many questions about what Steamboat going to do. They'll put out their information, and I thought that letter was very well crafted, and I think it sent the right message. And as a result, we have had more pressure in the pipeline since that letter came out in a big way. I compare it to like a Sunday night football game with two really great teams in November that the whole nation is watching, and the game happens in Denver and it snows like crazy. I mean, that letter, like a Sunday night football game, has made our phones light up. So that's huge. So right now we got a lot of pressure in the pipeline, and I'll take it. The downside is a little bit like what Jason said. A lot of us in the lodging community are talking about this whole shuttle reduced capacity. I mean, this city bus thing is a huge deal, not only sales tax being down and canceling some of these potential routes if we don't figure something out, but this reduced capacity on the city bus is a huge deal. Also, all of us in lodging that have our own private shuttles, that's going to create a major fiasco on getting people to and from the ski mountain and downtown if our capacity reductions have to be way down. So that's something that I worry about. The other thing I really worry about and keeps me up at night is I've been doing this a long time, and every time we have an election year, we always have a lot of uncertainty, regardless of who wins. And unfortunately, this is an election year. And as a result, it just creates a lot of uncertainty out there. We're based on vacations of consumer confidence index, the stock market, and I don't know how that's going to shake out. So there could be a situation after November 3rd where the faucet just shuts off. I just don't know. So that's why when people ask me and I say, I don't know, I don't have the crystal ball, as Kara said, I just don't. And lastly is cancellation policies. Cancellation policies in the vacation industry have had to change dramatically. They've had to be relaxed dramatically. So as a result, if we get an uptick of COVID or people get concerned, it's a lot easier for them to get out of a reservation. So even though traction is good and pent-up demand is strong and there's a lot of pressure in the pipeline, I don't know if those will stick. So as a result, that everybody asked me at the gas station, the grocery store, I don't know, but there's a couple pros, a couple cons that I can share with the group in the spirit of time that I have. Thanks, Kara.
Thanks, Mark. Really appreciate it. Next up, we have Kathy Elliott with Christie Sports to give us an update from the retail industry. Thanks, Kathy.
Good morning, everyone. So like everybody, getting shut down with COVID and then getting thrown back to the wolves and trying to open up is the retail did a fantastic job with adapting and adjusting to all of the restrictions in place. They really just wanted to be open. We wanted to be able to sell, welcome our community members and our visitors. And we've done that. We've gone in and conformed to the new changes with limited staffing because of the number of people potentially able to be in any store at any given time. And with the understanding of going in, our expectations were a little bit lower with COVID and not knowing what the summer business may be like. With that expectation, sales were better than expected with that understanding of lower expectations, but they were better with some businesses right at or just under last summer's sales, but other businesses were 20% or more off of sales. You know, businesses have come in and they've had to adjust their business models, have a better online presence or create an online presence to help generate sales, as well as offering the curbside pickup for guests that maybe were a little concerned about going in. They could pick up the phone, order those items and have it waiting for them outside. So, you know, another big important aspect for retail is restaurants. We're very reliant on the restaurant industry. If they're busy, we're busy. They've got people going out. So we're very thankful to the city and to the county for reducing or waiving some variances that allowed restaurants to have more outdoor seating or simply create outdoor seating, as well as allowing us to have retail merchandise out on the sidewalks all summer instead of just at certain times like during sidewalk sales. So we're very thankful for that. It's understandable. We know why it happened, but it was a big impact to not have Triple Crown this year, as well as the 4th of July parade. That really had an impact on some of the businesses' sales. That's where they made their summer sales, were especially during the 4th of July parade. You know, our outlook, we're staying positive. We're very optimistic about this fall with the second homeowners and the visitors because schools are mostly online, that they're sticking around town. We're hoping that that will help create a stronger economy during the normally slow fall season, and that it can help us get through until ski season opens. You know, manufacturing and shipping is a big concern that we've started to see. There's delays in shipping because UPS, FedEx are having their own struggles with COVID. And manufacturers aren't shipping they're not shipping the bulk orders at once like they have in the past. They're starting to break it out into smaller orders, so we're not getting the inventory in as fast as they would like, or all of the inventory. but we're hopeful that that will be adjusted this fall and that the winter inventory will be in and ready to go for our guests. You know, we're working together to survive. It takes the teamwork and effort, and we're constantly throwing ideas and options out to each other, trying to plan ahead if restrictions did increase again. How do we stay open? How do we continue to have our offerings without having to completely shut down? So those are the types of things that we're working with. We're appreciative to have Councilwoman Liesl Pettis on our committee, as well as Commissioner Beth Melton and Vic Walker from the Chamber. So it's great to have their insight with what's going on to help us make plans to move forward each day. We're positive. We are excited about ski season opening. We think it's going to be busier than anticipated. We're excited with those sales, but it also means that we really have to focus. December is a large month for us. It makes the winter, and more than ever, shop local is going to be needed to be pushed more than anything going into this winter. Is how do we incentivize guests, visitors, locals were very comfortable shopping this summer. We saw that everybody was bustling. Main Street was phenomenal. The mountain, once the resort amenities were open this summer, people were out. But what's that going to look like this winter? Are they going to be more comfortable in the cold? Are they going to be willing to go out and shop? And we're hoping, yes, that they will. And with the restaurants doing takeout, their doors open, that we're really excited to think that people will come down and check us out for that. So a big thank you to our locals, for the community, for helping us get through these challenging times, for supporting us, for welcoming our visitors to our community, because we needed them. We needed their help to shop, to visit the restaurants, and to stay in our lodging. So it was very welcoming, and we're very excited about that. You know, concerns for this winter is how do we fill some of the gaps of events that we normally have during winter. Santa Claus downtown is huge. It brings out a lot of the community members. Are we going to be able to do some of these things this winter? Christmas at the base area, you know, how is that going to look because it has a great impact on the retail industry as well as the restaurants. And so, you know, what can we do together as a community to help continue to grow and thrive in this environment and stay welcoming and have the same great local charm that Steamboat offers? So thank you again. Thank you, and shop local.
Thanks, Kathy. Great reminders. Really appreciate that. And I really also am glad that you pointed out the reliance across industries, how important it is to see success across the different industries, and that really lifts up everyone. So thank you for reminding us of that. Next up, we have Rex Bryce with Rex's family of restaurants, and he will be providing an update on behalf of the restaurant industry.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Like some of the other speakers that you've heard, there's a lot of optimism in our industry right now, fueled by a decent summer. If you'd asked me this spring, I would not have given you very, very high hopes for a good summer. I really expected things to be really tough, and with some changes and a lot of tourism, things ended up being pretty strong. Some of the things that made a huge difference was a change in the operations of restaurants, the ability for us to do takeout. You would have never guessed that it would have made such a difference, but it has. It has become an integral part of our operations across the board, and restaurants who have succeeded in offering takeout have benefited significantly from it. In the spring, the Restaurant Association partnered with the Chamber and went out and through a collaboration with the county and the city, made some local changes that made a huge difference for the restaurant industry as well. We were able to secure a waiver that increased our seating capacity in restaurants, helping significantly. We were able to change our boundaries, seating boundaries, alcohol to go and an ability to have open containers downtown has made a huge difference for us, among many other things that were addressed at the city and county level. And so I tell you, this has really given me some hope for our community and in an ability to come together to fight something like COVID. It really is amazing the collaboration that has happened between business, the chamber, and city and county staff. It's been fantastic. Big thank you to everybody that's been involved. As you heard from Mark and Kathy, fall is looking strong. Visitors want to be in the mountains. People who own second homes here want to be in the mountains, and therefore we will have people here, and so fall is not necessarily a super busy time for us, so capacity is less of an issue. So thankfully I think that we'll see a good strong fall. Our big concern, as you've heard, is winter and what it looks like. As much as we will try, we will lose our outdoor dining, really restricting our ability to take advantage of seating. And as from what we're hearing at this point, there is no indication that the increased seating capacity is going to happen anytime soon. So we're planning on a 50% reduced seating through the winter, and figuring out how to make that work. Like summer, the restaurants that are able to take advantage of carryout will do better by that, and the ones that don't won't. Like what we saw in the summer, I think you may have spoken with restaurants that have said, I've had the best summer that I've ever had, and then you will speak to restaurants that have had a really tough time this summer, and I think you'll see similar outcome this winter. Staffing has been a big challenge for us, and I'm really optimistic that will get better through the winter. As always, staffing in the restaurant industry is a challenge, but in these times, kind of uncertain times, it has been even tougher and created some limitations for us. But again, we're optimistic that'll get better. So thank you very much, and we appreciate everybody's support. The support that the restaurant community has gotten from the community has been incredible, and we truly appreciate it. So thank you very much, Kara.
Thanks, Rex. Appreciate you being here and sharing that update. Definitely a lot more work to do on restaurant front as we move through the winter, and we'll keep forging ahead. Rex mentions the 50% down capacity that will happen for restaurants, and that's kind of where it's been. However, the outdoor space has gotten a lot of the restaurants up to much higher capacity than that, or getting back to some of their regular levels. But it truly will bring things down to 50% this year. But forging ahead and trying to see what we can do, again, to help support that industry, among others. So next up, we have our main presentation. So we'll shift over to that. We have Rob Perlman. Rob is the president and COO of the Steamboat Ski Resort Corporation. And Rob, just really excited. Thank you for making time today. And as Mark mentioned, thank you for sharing the plans and for your leadership as we move into this critical season. Hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Kara. And good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us, our first Steamboat Ready seminar. And just congratulations and thank you to Kara and the chamber staff for putting together this group. And you'll hear a lot of people talking about thank yous to the community. And I want to reiterate that. And we have a very special community. And, a little over 6 months ago, we made the very difficult decision to close the resort due to the COVID-19 and what was going on in the world. And as difficult as that decision was, it pales in comparison to all the decisions we're going to be faced with going into this winter. It was, looking back, it was easy to make it wasn't easy, but it was a decision to close the resort for the protection of our staff, for our guests, and for our community. And in retrospect, I think it was the right call when we did it. Obviously, the governor came out very quickly thereafter, and we closed all the ski areas in the state. And that was a little over 6 months ago. And a lot of lessons learned throughout the summer by the lodging community, by the restaurants, by the retail industry, by the chamber, and even by the resort, and us opening with our limited operations throughout the summer, and being open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays with the gondola allowed us to experience what our staff would behave like, what our guests would act like. And as you've heard, a lot of second homeowners, a lot of folks decided they wanted to come and hang out for a month or the summer in Steamboat because it's such a special place. And we've been working incredibly hard over the last several months to put ourselves in a position that will set us up for success this winter. And as Mark mentioned, and I'm sure as everybody's seen, we put out a letter last week that was on the heels of Rusty Gregory, our CEO of Alterra Mountain Company, with kind of some details about our plans for the winter. Obviously, we don't have all the answers. My crystal ball is just as blurry as Mark Walker's, but we are trying to make decisions and do what's best for our staff, for our guests, and obviously for our community. And again, we have a very special collaborative community here in Steamboat. So we've been working very closely with Routt County Health, Routt County, the City of Steamboat Springs, obviously the Chamber, the lodging community, the restaurant community, the retail community, and then also with our parent company, Alterra Mountain Company, and our 15 resorts and the 45 that are a part of the Icon Pass. I'm also on the NSAA board, which is the National Ski Areas Association, that put out some guidelines that were very high level in terms of how we were going to approach the ski season. In addition to being on the board at the National Ski Areas Association, I'm also the vice chair of Colorado Ski Country USA, which is the trade association for the Colorado ski areas. So we're in discussions, and we're in discussions with the state about guidelines and how we're going to approach this winter. And then again, more locally, working with the chamber, working with the county, working with the city, as this is all uncharted territory. And we were glad that we could put out some specifics with regards to our operations for this winter. And winter's coming quickly. We're at, I think, 57 days, 21 hours, and I think like 22 minutes from our opening day, scheduled on Saturday, November 21st, with a little help from Mother Nature for cold temperatures and some snow. But we're going to be in a good position to open, and things will look very different. And as Mark Walker said, thankfully, when we talk about recreating in the mountains and we talk about skiing and snowboarding, it's a socially distant sport. So we need to work on, how we're going to get people around the resort, in our community, so that we can do our best to minimize the spread of COVID-19. So a couple things, I think, as everybody saw in my letter a week ago, yesterday, was a couple takeaways, and I'll just touch on a few of those. One is in terms of reservations. We are not in favor of going to a reservation system for our Icon Pass holders, Icon Base Pass holders, Season Pass holders, and frankly, anybody that books a package to our community through Senres or our travel partners. And that's a way we can say we want to give priority. It doesn't mean you get to cut the lines, but we want to give priority to our season pass holders and our vacation package bookers, with the simple idea that we need to try to limit the on-mountain capacity. And it's very unusual for us. Usually we'll take everybody that wants to come here and be excited to welcome them to Steamboat and Steamboat Ski Resort, but this is different. We want to try to minimize and try to limit the amount of people on the mountain at any one time. particularly during those peak periods. We just can't see ourselves accommodating the kind of peak crowds and volume that we've had in the past, just due to the limitations we have in our base area, on our lifts, and our on-mountain restaurants. So again, we're going to try to pull back to try to limit our on-mountain capacity during those holidays and peak periods, and everybody knows what those are if you've been living in Steamboat for a winter or two. It's very, very obvious. So we're going to tightly regulate. And what does that mean? Currently, we don't have standalone lift tickets for sale. And you can't buy a walk-up window ticket. Those probably procedures and policies will be in place, at least for the near term. Sure, we'll look at allowing some sales of what we call standalone lift tickets as we get closer to the season and in those periods of time where we're not capacity restrained. But during those peak periods, we're not sure we're going to offer a standalone lift ticket, just because we want to, again, limit the amount of capacity we have on the mountain for the safety of our community, for our guests, and for our employees. So pass holders and those people that book a package, and as Mark talked about, our deadline has changed. We used to have our deadline earlier in the summer. Now we push that out to November 2nd. So we're really trying to get people to make advanced reservations, and that's a common theme you also saw in my letter, and that we'll be instituting this winter, is advanced reservations. Whether that's advanced reservations for packages, whether that's advanced reservations for ski rentals and snowboard rentals. Gone are the days where you can walk up and buy a lift ticket, buy a ski school lesson, buy a ski rental, and we just really want to get our arms around and be able to have people make those advanced reservations. That obviously takes some of the touch points out of the equation, which is a goal of ours, is to get people to book in advance, and that just lessens the amount of interaction we're going to have with our guests going forward. We also are going to make it very clear at our resorts and here at Steamboat that masks and face coverings are a requirement. That's a big deal for us. It's all the information that's coming out, and it comes out all the time, is, face coverings is the best protection for yourself and for everybody around you in terms of, stopping and minimizing the spread of COVID-19. So that's very important. We also made some difficult decisions in terms of on-mountain dining. Obviously, we need to follow the guidelines and the mandates and the executive orders put out by the state with our on-mountain lodges and restaurants. So we made the difficult decision not to operate 4 Points night dining nor Ragnar's night dining, because those involve extra transportation, whether that's in an enclosed snowcat to get to 4 Points, or it's in a sleigh going out to Ragnar's. We're going to suspend those operations this year, just due to the fact that we want to make sure we provide a better, safer environment for our guests and for our staff. We still will be offering night dining at Hazy's, at Timber and Torch, at Haymaker, but 4 Points and Ragnar's, we will not be offering night dining. In terms of day dining, that's going to look different than it has in the past. As Rex talked about, with the 50% capacity restraint, restriction, we're making the adjustments to our on-mountain seating, to the restaurants, to the tables, and then we are going to employ lodge hosts. So there will be lodge hosts in all of our on-mountain restaurants. And that's a goal of ours, is to make sure that when people come to our restaurant, we're going to be able to seat them. They'll have a QR code that they can go with on their mobile phone. They'll be able to order food from the table, and then we'll have runners bring that out to those folks that are on our mountain restaurants. We're looking at additional ways we can provide additional seating around the mountain, because we understand we were crowded in our on-mountain restaurants before COVID, so we're definitely going to be capacity restrained when it comes to our lodges. So we're looking at a tent structure. We're looking at additional seating in areas like the Basher Pavilion or the Priest Creek Bench or other areas. Obviously, the Taco Beast will be out in full force, as that's a great way that we can spread people out for on-mountain dining. We also are going to, the same folks that brought you the Taco Beast are going to roll out the Pizza Ranger. That's a Ranger with snow tracks on it. That's going to have a hot box on the back that's going to deliver pizzas around the mountain to various locations so that people can enjoy a pizza. So those are some of the things that we're working on. Ski school obviously is going to be different than it has in the past. We're no longer going to offer full day group lessons. We're going to break those up into 2 half-day sessions, either a morning session or an afternoon session. When we talk about private lessons, those are still going to be offered, and we're excited that we can still offer those. In terms of daycare, we just don't see that being able to offer that with guests coming in and out of our community. So we're going to suspend our childcare, daycare operations this winter. And again, everything's going to be needed to be booked in advance, just so we can understand who's coming. We can understand when those folks are coming. And our goal is to just, provide a safe experience for our guests and our staff and our community. A lot of information is coming at our guests and our community and our staff. We're constantly working on providing additional details. But what we have done, and I think many folks have been, and I'll share my screen, is we have put out there a microsite. On steamboat.com, there's a section of steamboat.com where we are talking about all of the operations that we have, and in terms of the changes that we have there. Hopefully you can see my screen, and this is right on our homepage. And then if you go to what we call the Trail Forward, which is our microsite, it provides a bunch of information, details. It has my letter on there. It has FAQ. It has a really a plethora of information about our operations and how we're going to approach the ski season. We're going to constantly be updating this website, and there'll be new information coming out, if not daily, weekly, and all the time, in terms of additional details about how we're running our operations. It's going to be really informative, so I suggest you bookmark this page, you check it frequently, and again, we're going to provide all the details as we make more decisions and get closer to the season, which I said earlier was 57 days away and 21 hours, and now I can't calculate the minutes. But that'll have all the information for our guests, for our staff, and for our community, and it's a great way to keep up to date on what's going on at Steamboat Resort. So I'll stop sharing my screen. And again, I'll end with, it's a collaborative effort. And I have been around the ski industry my entire career. I've worked in multiple resorts. I've worked at Colorado Ski Country. Hands down, Steamboat is the most collaborative community I've been a part of. It's evident in everything we do, from the chamber to the city, to the restaurant industry, to the lodging industry, to the retail industry, to the resort. It's really a team effort. And in my letter, I say we're all in this boat together. And that's true, because if we're going to get through this pandemic and get to the point where, a vaccine is out there and widely available, which isn't going to happen probably until next winter, that, we're going to see the benefits of that, hopefully, fingers crossed. We all need to be working in lockstep to make sure we protect our staffs, our guests, and our community. So thank you very much for all your support. We'll continue to provide updates to the Trail Forward website, and I'll turn it back to Kara.
Thanks, Rob. That was a great overview. Really appreciate that, and that everyone definitely will be earmarking that website, both I'm sure for themselves, but also for our guests and operations. Rob, don't go too far away. We have a couple questions for you. So, and feel free, again, attendees, to pop those questions into Q&A for any of our presenters today, and we'll get those answered. First question, uphill capacity. Any thoughts there yet?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, we uphill access. You know, we've been one of the probably the most liberal resorts in all of the nation in terms of uphill access. We understand some changes need to be made. We're working on those with the Forest Service, with our own internal departments. We still want to provide that uphill access, but again, things are going to have to change due to the capacity restrictions we're going to get ourselves in. You know, we just don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we're having a bunch of uphill folks going on to the mountain when we're trying to reduce those peak periods. So stay tuned. That is information that we will come out with. And, you know, I myself am an uphiller, so it's important that we provide that, but it won't be the same kind of free-for-all that it has been in the past. We just need to tighten that up like everything else we're doing. So hopefully the community will be supportive of that, and we'll work with the community on that, because it's an important offering that we want to continue, but it will look different. So good question.
Great. Another question, the adventure assurance. Can you provide a little bit more insight on that between the all destination, single destination?
Yes. I'm not the most well-versed in the adventure assurance, but it's, you know, a way that, you know, if we get into a situation here at Steamboat, if you choose Steamboat and we get, you know, into a situation where we have to close, that provides some assurance and some credits towards the pass for next year. And you can either choose a specific destination like Steamboat or all the destinations. So there's some flexibility there. And again, the bottom line and the goal of adventure assurance, or even our worry-free guarantee, as Mark Walker talked about, you know, credits and refunds, we're going to be much more flexible than we ever have in the past. And understand that, you know, if things are out of our control, or our guests or our locals or our season pass holders control, you know, we're going to work with them. We just need to provide that flexibility because we're in a whole new situation, uncharted waters. And we'll be, you know, much more, and again, our credit policies and refund policies, the last thing we want somebody to do is to come into our community and to have symptoms and then to come to our resort or to go out into our community. So we will be much more willing to have the conversation, to offer credits, to offer refunds on those products that we control. And we hope that the community will work with us on the products that they offer, just to be understanding, because again, we don't want the family to show up in the gondola line showing symptoms just because they feel like they need to get their money's worth. So things will be very different when it comes to credit and refund policies going into the season. And that's just what we all need to do.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. And I know the Lodging Association is working to try to do what they can on that front as well, so that everybody is in lockstep as much as possible. Another question, total daily mountain capacity. Is that
again, we're just trying to reduce and try to lessen those peak periods. I call it shave those peak periods. We don't have a specific number in mind, but we know it needs to be less than what we historically have seen. And therefore, the levers we can pull are the standalone lift tickets, the walk-up window tickets, and some of the other products that we just won't make available for those peak periods. And you know, that probably won't make a lot of people, well, it probably won't make a few people, it won't make everybody happy. There will be certain times when we're going to get uncomfortable with the amount of folks that we anticipate on the mountain, so we're going to limit that. And it's just, again, I go back to, we're on uncharted waters, and we don't want to get into a situation that we have over the last 57 years where we've said, we'll take all comers. This is different. So if you really want to get access, plan around a non-peak period, and you know, get your friends and family to come here other than December 27th, 28th, 29th, when you know, we're going to feel the stress as a community, as a resort, on our buses and shuttles and parking and everywhere else. So again, those peak periods, we're going to try to pull back and scale back and shave those peak periods down.
Great. I think we have time for maybe one more question, and that is regarding parking and shuttles. I know we talked about that. Jason hit on the transportation challenges that we're all facing, including the city's transportation, as well as Mark mentioned the lodging, property, shuttles. Mind touching on parking and shuttles from the ski area's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the same situation that the city's in, that the lodging community's in terms of capacity on our Meadows parking shuttles. So we're conscious of that. We're keeping an eye on, you know, the new regulations, but we anticipate we're going to have 50% of our capacity on our shuttles. So we are working to try to see if we can get some additional parking shuttles. That's one of the things. We are trying to expand and look for different areas where we could do skier drop-off, expand our skier drop-off. We think that's a good solution for us to look into. We don't have all those details. Again, go to the Trail Forward. But our goal is to have, you know, a party of 4 that is a family, drop off 3 of their related party folks, and then go park the car so that only 1 person has to get on the shuttle rather than the 4 people have to get on the shuttle. And again, we'll look to our locals and the community to help spread that word that that's probably the most efficient way to drop off a majority of the group and then go park the car. So again, we're going into some uncharted territory, but we're thinking about additional skier drop-off and additional shuttles and additional actually parking spots, because we think we should anticipate more folks are going to drive the Steamboat than we've seen historically, just because they'll jump in their car and drive from Kansas or Nebraska or even as far away as Austin and San Antonio and Texas. So.
Great, thanks, Rob. And we will dive in a little bit deeper into the AIR program at a later webinar, but just do you have a comment or two about how things are looking so far with flights?
Yeah, you know, Mark Walker touched on it. And, you know, as a mountain destination, what we're hearing from the airlines is, we all know, and Mark touched on it also with group and business travel, you know, that is down significantly. And that will take probably a year or 2 to come back. So leisure travel will be the first to come back when it comes to airlines, particularly airlines. And then when you think about leisure travel, you think about mountain destinations like Steamboat Ski Resort, like the national parks. And the airlines saw a significant demand for those type of destinations this summer. You know, Denver was one of their most successful markets. Even the Hayden flights on United were full as we got later into the summer and even this fall. It's very difficult to find an empty seat on a plane leaving Hayden right now. And I think that comfort level, that demand will continue to grow. At the same time, some people won't be comfortable getting on an airplane and traveling to Steamboat, so they'll drive. So, you know, we kind of see and are talking to the airlines, and they're, you know, right now we are down from where we were a year ago, but I think that's partially because of our deadlines have changed on the packages that we offer and also the uncertainty. But I think, you know, with Southwest Airlines coming in, that's huge for us. The low fares that Mark talked about is just really competitive and puts those competitive pressures on those legacy carriers. So, you know, the premium that people used to pay to fly in to Hayden, hopefully that comes down, and that is attractive and affordable for our guests to experience. So do I anticipate we'll have load factors in the mid 70s? No. And we've had those in the past, but you know, hopefully we'll be successful with our airline program because we have minimum revenue guarantees associated with us.
Great, thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.
I'd like to invite all of our presenters to join us back with their video for a moment, if you could. I think the main takeaway from today is a lot of cautious optimism. There's a lot of, even with the airlines, you know, the opportunities that they're providing for flexibility makes it a really wide road to go down that we're headed. So, but keeping that optimism out there. And one other thing that was a theme, and it has been, but we haven't necessarily always messaged it as much as we should, is this collaboration. The people that you're seeing here today and so many others are working hand in hand to do whatever we can to keep our community safe and healthy, and also support our local businesses and thus allow them to continue to provide meaningful employment to all of our friends and neighbors. So know that we are all working really hard, and if you would like to get more involved, please reach out to me. Otherwise, we will see you and continue to keep you updated via email and in our monthly webinars. Have a great day. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.